We should be live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a new episode of the Playmaker podcast. We are now actually on our fourth episode. It's been a fun ride so far, and we look forward to many, many, many more. I'm just going to kind of give you guys already know who I am, Deafness 45. We got a new guest tonight, which will let him take a little more time to introduce himself when we get to him. But I do have to give you my playmaker for the week, and my playmaker this week is going to be James Conner. The dude, while Kyler Murray was on the sidelines this week, kept the Cardinals rolling, getting another W against San Fran. 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 receiving touchdown, 96 rush yards, and 77 receiving yards. So that's going to be my playmaker for this week. Balls, what's going on, baby? How you doing, man?
Well, you guys see it right here all night tonight, boys. Bear down. Nobody's going to be picking them tonight. Everybody's going to be taking the Steelers. Let's upset the world, baby. My playmaker for the week is going to be actually not even an athlete. It's going to be Dana White. I don't know if you guys got to see any of that UFC card, but, man, that Gaethje fight, Gaethje Chandler lived up to the hype. Usman Covington lived up to the hype. Rose versus Zhang Wei Li lived up to the hype.
That was insane.
It was all around just a great event. And Dana's got a few more coming. 290 or 269 is just as good, if not a better card. So, I'm gonna give it to Dana White after seeing that event this weekend.
I love it, man. I love it. Hey, Brady, what's up, man? How you doing tonight?
What up? I'm all in on the Bears, too. We'll see how they play. It'll be interesting, though. Hey, but it was a week of upsets in the NFL, right? So we might as well just keep it going.
Yeah.
But, all right, my playmaker of the week is the one, the only Mr. World Series MVP, Jorge Soler, former Cubby. A guy who really turned the season around just looking at his splits. Obviously traded at the deadline from Kansas City to Atlanta. Before he got traded, hit 192 with a 280 OBP, and second half of the year 270, 360 on base percentage, and then in the World Series, obviously hit 300 with 3 ginormous homers. All 3 of them were game winners. So Deafness and I were on the Braves pretty early, and Mr. Jorge Soler brought it home for him. So.
Yes, he did. Brian, how you doing this evening, man? So we got you're our new guest for the podcast. Introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself, and obviously you got to give us your playmaker as well. So how you doing?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Def, for having me on. It's first time new to this. From SoCal, big Angels, Dodgers fan. Los Angeles area, football. I like the Cleveland Browns. Liked them for about 20 years now. And that's about it as far as sports goes. This week, I'm going to go with basketball. And I'm going to pick someone that I think a lot of people are sleeping on. His name's Evan Mobley. He was the third pick in this year's draft. And I don't think this year's draft's got a lot of exposure because Cade's been hurt. He hasn't really started off that strong. Some of the lower draft players, they made names for themselves so far, but this guy Evan Mobley's really standing out. I mean, he was a big 5-star recruit in USC. Like I said, he got drafted number 3. He's already averaging 16 17 points a game, 9 boards. Last night he had a monster game with 26 points, 9 boards. I mean, Cleveland hasn't had a big man in a long time. They've got some explosive guards and forwards, but him matched up with them, I think people might want to start paying attention to him. And from what I've been seeing on eBay and his card prices, people are starting to acknowledge that he's the real deal. So that's my playmaker of the week, Evan Mobley.
It's awesome to have you here, and I'm going to add a couple stat lines in with that on Mobley. And to top this off, Jared Allen has been putting up crazy numbers on top of it. So when you add this in, you got two bigs, right? Front court, just putting up monster numbers side by side. Usually you got one guy doing it, not 2 guys. But yeah, you touched on 26 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. The game before that, he was 18-5-2 with 1 block. And then the game before that, so the last 3 games, the third game back, 15-10, 3-2, and 1. So he's kind of giving you that double-double with added blocks, and he's even chucking the ball and throwing some rocks, some assists. So pretty amazing, great playmaker, awesome pick for our new guest here tonight. I'm going to add for Nate's going to be on here shortly. Actually, Nate's right here, man. So I'm going to let him do his own do. Let me get him in here real quick. Hang on one second. He's back there. Nate, what up, bro?
Hey, what's going on?
Well, tell us, who's your playmaker for the week, dog?
I guess I got here just in time, but yeah, my playmaker is going to be Kyle Larson for NASCAR. Obviously, we began like a good amount of requests to do more NASCAR. So, new champion, finished the season strong. He actually won the Phoenix race. It was his 10th win of the year. So definitely gotta go. Kyle Larson is my playmaker for the week.
Cup champ, baby.
Good way to end NASCAR season.
Yep, Cup champion. So
yep.
Great pick. Awesome pick there. Dude was actually very solid throughout the whole season. I mean, he was at the tops all season.
Yep.
So to see him close it out when it got into the playoffs, and for him to maintain and keep it going, really awesome. Really cool to see Mr. Larson. What's that?
Did anybody watch that race?
I didn't catch it. No.
I'll just quick tidbit. I watched a little bit because my buddy had some money on it, so we were watching it. And the top 4 drivers, pretty much the entire race. But it was about 30 laps to go. Kyle Larson came in the pit third, and his pit crew pitted him at like 11.2 seconds, and he came out in first and didn't give it up the rest of the race. It's just crazy because I haven't watched NASCAR that much this year. But literally, his pit crew is the reason. He came out in first out of that pit stop and led the rest of the race. I just thought it was so cool that, we think about the drivers all the time, but there's a lot of other pieces in the NASCAR team that has to be working in order to win a championship.
Wow, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to. I did watch a couple races earlier in the season. I do, as I dabble into DFS with just about everything I do. I didn't actually play anything throughout the playoffs to the end, but earlier in the season, I did watch some when there wasn't really as much going on. Once the football season starts and that, it's pretty difficult to pay attention to the NASCAR races when you got the NFL on. But to some, that's maybe the opposite. So here's what we're going to do. Before we really dive into the podcast tonight, we got our intros out of the way. We got our playmakers for the week out of the way. So the next step is going to be, and I'm going to throw a little plug out here once again, because it seemed like 2 episodes ago, we started the comments and topics started to uptick a little bit. We're close to where we were last week, but I would think that each week we should be getting more and more as we continue to move forward. So I'm going to put challenges out there. So again, guys, after this podcast uploads, after it's uploaded, after we're done and we end this stream and it's uploaded on YouTube, go back, leave a comment, a question, a topic that you want us to touch on next week, because we're going to cover that at the end of every episode. But on top of that, it's the easiest way you can get yourself $30 in PayPal. Or if you like sports cards, this is part of a hobby podcast as well. I do the auctions on Tuesday nights. You can take break credit or auction credit if you want instead of the $30 PayPal. It's your choice. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go and I'm going to share that screen and we're going to pick who our winner is going to be this week. I got everybody on here that has added a comment up to 10, 15 minutes ago or so. So I think we had like 17 or 18 minus people replying to them, added comments, etc. You know what we do? We shuffle it 7 times because, I'm a gambling man. So we got to shuffle the name 7. We hit that thing and we see who it lands on. Good luck, guys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I'm just going to hit spin this wheel. Where it lands, it lands. Terry P. Mr. Terry Paul. Congratulations, my guy. Congratulations, Terry. You win this week's $30 PayPal or auction credit. You can use it either or. I know you're in the auctions all the time, so we appreciate you. Thank you for leaving the comments. We'll obviously get to them and touch on them later on in the podcast. So, guys, I guess we're going to just roll right into it here. Let's start with baseball. Let's start with MLB. We're not going to have a ton to talk about. although if you want to throw in some free agency talk in there as well, I suppose you're more than happy to. It's open for just about anything. The Braves obviously pull it off. We know that, right? We know that the playmaker for Brady is Soler, who ends up being World Series MVP, has that monster home run, Game 6, and really just defies to have the Braves be the champs. So, any big takeaways? Anything really? Any of you want to touch on? Were you guys shocked? Were you surprised? And where do you see this team? Do you see this team actually sticking and gelling together? Or how many of these guys do you see that are free agents, possibly not on the team this year? I'm going to start. We'll go Balls. We'll go Balls. Go ahead.
Before we start, though, I'm going to go with my Monday night score.
Oh,
I know
yeah,
we talked about it.
My bad.
I got you. You guys see that right there? Bears 23, Steelers 20.
All right. So everybody, I
can't go against my team. I hate it. I mean, no Eddie Jackson, no Khalil Mack. That's trouble for the Bears defense. Hopefully we can run the ball. I'm going to take my Bears. I can't ever go against them. So if you guys see me reacting in the background, you know why.
Hey, mods, just make sure you're doing your thing and getting rid of the people out there. I see you're doing a good job. We're going to have a bunch of fun ones, so just don't pay attention to them and just get them out of here. So, Brady, where are you at?
I wouldn't put money on it, but I'll go Bears. Can we just get rid of Coach Nagy? Like, please. I think Justin Fields has got a chance to be a good quarterback. I think we have some good weapons. I think I'm sick of watching this team underperform and the offense not doing anything, especially from an offensive guru, which is what he was quoted as being the last 3 years. So I don't know. We'll see. Justin Fields has got to make some plays, but it'll be an interesting game for sure.
All right, Brian.
I like a couple of players on the Bears. I think Mooney's a stud, but
Mooney.
I'm gonna go against y'all. I'm gonna take Pittsburgh in this one. I think they're a little too dominant in this game, but we'll see.
Now, Brian, does the spread throw you? Spread's 7.5 tonight. Would that change your pick? I'm going straight up.
I'll take the Bears with that for sure.
With the points?
Yeah, for sure. They can cover that. I think it's going to be something like 27, 21, something like that.
Nate, where you at, dog?
So actually did bet this game. So actually I took the Bears plus. I had it at +7, not +7.5. That'd been better, but and I took the under as well, under like 39.5. So I think it's gonna be like maybe like a 2017, like a 21-17 kind of game. I think kind of like low scoring. But I got the Steelers winning. I think Steelers might be able to get like the run game going with Najee Harris. I don't think Big Ben's gonna do much in the air. Might have like 200 yards, 220 yards, but yeah, I think with like a nice low scoring game. Steelers probably eke it out, but Bears cover.
So here's my take on this. I'm gonna take the Steelers, but it's gonna be a close game. It's gonna be a 3-point game. Yeah. 1 to a 3-point game is what I say. I'm seeing like a 2017 or like a 17-20 or 17-14 game. I do feel like Justin Fields continues to grow tonight. I do feel like we see a little more of those glimpses of what he's going to be and what he's going to bring to the league, like we did his last time with the 102 rushing yards. So I do see a little bit of that. I want to see him take some attempts deep, right? I want to see that. We're seeing the rush side or ability of him. We're seeing all of that, but I'm not seeing the big haymaker either make a big play down the field or draw the defensive pass interference so you're getting yourself down in the red zone. I need to see some of that, right? Take a shot. Take your shot. So Justin Fields, whatever Nagy does, you option out of that. You take that go route and just bang it out. Let's go, baby. But 3 points or a point. It's not going to be 7.5. It's going to be a closer game, but I do have Pittsburgh in this. So I'm not going to go through the whole MLB thing. We're just going to run right through it. So Balls, start with you. World Series, MLB, free agency, anything stick out there that you want to touch on or add?
You know, Brady hit it on the head. I pointed out last week, I thought the DH would be a pretty important role going back to Houston. And I think Soler was 1 for 3 with that bomb, but he also got on base another time and scored again in that game. And if you look on the other side of the plate, Yordan Alvarez 0 for 3, leaving runners in scoring position, leaving guys on base. I think that was a major key. And, I'm happy to see Atlanta win it. I really hope they can bring back Freddie Freeman. I think that's kind of a done deal. I look at him, and I know Brady probably feels the same way. He's their Anthony Rizzo. You can't let that guy go. He's the heart and soul of that team. You bring him back however you can. If it means you lose a guy like Soler served his purpose for you. You won a title. He did what you needed him to do, but you got to bring back that heart and soul. So, sign Freddie Freeman, whatever it takes. But yeah, man, congratulations to Atlanta. And, it'll be interesting to see, because Houston's got a few pieces now that, can that team survive once they start to lose some pieces? It's tough to stay on top in baseball for too long. So it'll be interesting to see. But congrats to the Braves. Congrats to everybody that bet the Braves. I think I was the only person on the other side. And, fade Balsley right now is the trend if we're going with that here. I don't think I've picked one right game yet.
All right. Brady, what do you got? Any takes for the MLB, the World Series?
Well, I'm going to toot my own horn and kind of say I said it's going to take either Max Fried or Ian Anderson in Game 6 or Game 7 doing something special. And, Max Fried, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts, and he did something special for him. And he shut down a good Houston lineup, and that won the – it won it for him along with Soler. I think Ballsy made a good point about Freddie Freeman. I didn't think the Cubs were ever going to get rid of Anthony Rizzo. And, a specific quote that I heard Rizzo say was, the ship's going to sink. I want to go down with the ship. And I think you're going to get the similar type of thing with Freddie Freeman, a guy that's been in the organization for his entire career, and they're in a completely different spot winning a World Series, coming off a World Series versus coming off a closing of a window. But that's your guy. That's your guy. He's a ticket seller. He's the face of the franchise. They're going to extend him. I think that he's going to compromise a little bit on money because he understands that that's his place. But in regards to the MLB, we have the collective bargaining agreement coming up. That'll be super interesting. DH in the National League next year. What is all the free agency?
That's actually a question or a topic from one of our somebody. I don't know.
Yep, qualifying offer, all that stuff. There's a lot of time and manipulation in regards to service time that's going to pop up. So it's going to be some interesting negotiations in a very slow off season for the MLB. I think there's going to be a lot of negotiating, and that deal's got to get done before anything really happens this off season.
Right on. Brian, any takes? MLB, World Series, free agency, anything?
Yeah, I think the Braves are going to continue on this run. A point I want to make is they did all this without Acuna, right? And that's impressive because he could very well have been the MVP of the league. So the free agency, even if they lose Soler, like you said, what was he hitting? $180 before they picked him up? Soler, he's hit or miss. He did his job. He served his purpose. I think if they lose him, they also picked up your boy Eddie Rosario, who was huge.
Monster.
So I think Minnesota is kicking themselves for that one. But just to piggyback on the Max Fried thing, I think Ian Anderson was huge in this series. I mean, he could have very well thrown the first no-hitter in the series history. And I think this young Braves pitching staff is something impressive. And if they can hold that together, they can put an offense on the field that can score the runs. So I think that pitching staff's going to be important to keep together,
I mean, they had it, and it shows. I mean, that's why they won it, right? Like, you look at that lineup.
Yeah.
You have guys like Dansby Swanson batting 7, 8. The dude popped 30+ home runs this year.
Yep.
Like, just at some point in the middle of the season, I remember people hating on like Braves fans going, I wish Dansby Swanson would actually do something. And then he just went on a tear. It's like he heard you guys and was like, all right, you want me to show you how I really play baseball? I'm going to play baseball now. Like, I'm going to get my bat alive. So, Yeah, good takes, man. I think the big thing with Brady on the whole thing is like he was calling more or less like the game 6 because when we talked last week, he said going into game 6, he's going to have Max Fried's going to have to, have a big game pitching and whatever for it to come to fruition for them to pull it off for 6. But yeah, great takes on Ian Anderson, man. Incredible job in the series. So, Nate, you got anything for us, dog?
Yeah, I mean, just pretty much just add on like the Braves pitching definitely surprised me because like they were just dominant like for like some games. Some games just
right.
I thought it was game, but like they pitched like a combined no hitter. I forgot which game it was. I think it was maybe like game 3 or game 4. So I'm like with that actual lineup and then like it was just a limit of runs on there that's probably a bit, and like also like just timely hits, like timely home runs. So yeah, like the Braves, like they just did everything, feel like they just did everything right during the season. Made those small underrated deals. People got hot at the right time, pitching great. So that's how you win. So yeah, like congratulations again to the Braves. So that's probably all I got to add to it.
And I just think, I'm just going to throw in, I'm not going to spend much time on anymore with the MLB. I mean, we could really dive into free agency if we wanted to, but I think we dive into that later on when we get closer to that. We're just ending the season right now. I mean, people are already starting to talk and figure that out, but we'll save that for a later time. But I think it goes back to one thing we touched on last week or the week before really is, what happens with this Astros team now, right? What happens with these guys in the whole free agency, and our guys going to drop and leave? And again, is there going to be any love there, or are they going to gain the love? Is there going to be less taken, as far as the hate on them for being cheaters, et cetera? I mean, we saw this with George Springer, brought this up before, right? Going to Toronto. It's almost like you didn't really ever hear a lot of bashing on Springer that much, or I didn't see it at least this year with him being over in Toronto with the Blue Jays now. So it'll be interesting to see. We don't have to really talk much on it unless anybody wants to add on anything with the whole Astros and where they go from here and what kind of that outlook looks like if players like Altuve or Correa or somebody, get to another team, if they're more forgiven per se, or if that's ever actually really something that comes about. So anybody else have anything for the MLB or want to move forward?
I'm a Dodger fan, so I don't even want to talk about the Astros.
I feel you.
Although you mentioned Altuve, if Altuve would get himself to another team, he entered the league in 2011, the same year as Mike Trout. He's got some very impressive personal stats. Besides all the controversy on the Astros, I believe he has the most home runs in postseason history. Yeah, I mean, the guy hits 30 bombs a season easily, and he's been doing it year after year after year. He just does not get the respect that he deserves, and a lot of it is contributed to the controversy. But if he can get off that, he can get off the Astros, I mean, I see him as a Hall of Fame player for sure.
Right. All right, we're going to get into the next wheelhouse we're going to touch on. I know this is one that Balls is going to love to talk about. I don't know if you guys caught, Brian, Nate, Brady, if you guys caught much of this. You guys may or may not have much to add on this section. It's fine if you don't, but we're going to touch on the UFC card that went on this past weekend, which we kind of hyped up last episode. We got Josh kind of, man, I haven't watched one of those in a while, and I think I want to watch one after this whole little, you guys talking about it, but it was absolutely fireworks. It is exactly what we kind of thought it was. It was as advertised. Dana White's big on the thumbnail. Like, he's huge, like, compared to everybody, like, his head-wise. And that's just because, like, he represented the whole card, the whole UFC, putting that thing together and doing what he does. But talk me through some of this, Balls, and anybody else can add on it. I mean, Let's start with the main card, the opening fight that ended up it was supposed to be the third fight. It ended up being the opening fight, and that was Gaethje versus Chandler. My boy Gaethje. What did you see? What did you like from that
fight? That was worth the price of admission alone. It sucked because I was at a concert. I had a concert playing for months. So I had to watch the replay. I knew who won. I'm glad Gaethje won. I really dig him. But sometimes you get those big fighters in there, and they weigh each other out for too long. It seems like, they wait around, they feel their timing, their space, and everything, and that wasn't it. I mean, within 45 seconds, we're talking bombs are landed, knees are weak between guys, and it was everything you wanted it to be. Props to Michael Chandler. He got the biggest thing I said, and we kind of discussed it before we went live, but you could see that Gaethje's game plan was to take out that lead leg with some heavy low kicks.
Right.
And Chandler's front leg was so beat up that it really immobilized him. And the Bears gave up an opening score touchdown. Yuck. But it really immobilized his leg. And for a lot of fighters, it changes the fight. And that man, even catching bombs to the face, he stood there and just threw back the whole time. The only complaint I had with it was it wasn't five rounds. It could have went 2 more rounds and could have been fireworks the whole time. I think Gaethje would have pulled away in those last 2 rounds for sure.
Yeah.
But there was times that even Chandler late in that fight, he took Gaethje down. It turned out to be a weird event where Gaethje did this like front flip roll in the air as he's getting
he always does. Yeah. And he basically reversed him. He basically reversed it, which in wrestling, you score that takedown, but Gaethje would actually came ahead because he would have had the reversal on him, like getting his back. He basically got to his back with the roll.
He had a Granby roll on him, is what it's called. Yeah. He had a Granby roll, and I mean, he knocked him down. I think that was the biggest part. He had the one big highlight of that fight. He won it in the striking, but that highlight definitely, that uppercut landing square and just dropping him. If he'd have caught him with that left hook, it was a knockout.
Yeah, the only thing that disappointed me with that fight was that there was no finish, right? And I think that's the common theme throughout the card, the main card, they were great fights. They were fireworks. They were incredible. They weren't boring. They were very entertaining. Like, you got your full allotted time, but a lot of people are here to see those finishes. They want to see somebody finished, and these guys talked it up the whole time, and they went at each other, right? And I touched on it. I said Gaethje's never been knocked out before. He's taken a lot of hits, and that's what he does. He frustrates fighters. The best in the world, he frustrates because he lets them throw as hard as they can and punch him because he's confident that he will not be knocked out. And they do it, and then they realize they're in their corner in between rounds they're thinking in their head, they're like, I gave this guy everything. I threw everything at him that I have, and I can't knock him out. Like, I'm not going to be able to knock this guy out. I have to win this fight a different way. And that becomes... That's huge. That's huge for a guy like that, just having such a chin. So, again, shout out my boy. I've been a fan of him way before he's in the UFC. I remember when he came up with Ferguson, before that Ferguson fight started, and I was just all on like, dude, Gaethje's gonna run through this guy, and people were like, "What? Who is this guy?" And I'm like, "No, you guys don't even understand. Like, champions about to be born here in the UFC." So. Yeah, walk us. Just anybody else want to touch on it? Anybody else watch the fights that's on the panel? Or no? So, didn't. We all got specialty areas that we specialize in. We just got to touch things. Did you watch it all? Ryan?
I watched some highlights, but not enough to know. I'm not sure what I was talking about.
So we'll let balls run through the neck. How about Rose and the Rose fight?
Yeah, I got to catch that actually as I was leaving the concert. I was kind of shocked. I thought Whaley would actually win that fight, and
the rematch.
It's another one. I look at even the main event with Usman and Covington. You've got Namajunas now who has 2 wins. There's nothing, and you said this earlier, there's nothing for her to gain by having that fight again.
Right.
But that fight again makes the most sense. Those are the 2 best. It was another good fight. I was shocked by Rose. I didn't honestly expect her to win. I think the late takedown helped her really seal it. But that's another one, man. All 3 of these fights, the big 3 fights on the card, and even that Frankie Edgar fight, it made it into the 3rd round. All of three of those main fights could have went, there was a turning point in each fight, and it was just all about who took advantage of that opportunity at that time. And I could honestly see him going either way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the Usman Covington, I mean, we touched on it, right? Like Dana White said, like, if Usman's not in the UFC, if he's not in this weight class, Covington would be your champion, right? There's no one else that could beat him besides Usman. Usman is just that good. He's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. And I mean, it's just crazy, right? And you got to remember something, like, for people who don't know or don't follow this, these two champions plus top fighter in the world, Gaethje, Rose, and Usman, they all train together. They're all with the same team, and that team is only made of those three fighters. Most camps, most gyms, most fighters come from a camp where they have 20, 40, 50, 100, 200, because some of them are states, like different states, and they go different, but they're all team, like all American or top team or, whatever it might be. But these three are the only ones. They're all trained by Trevor Whitman, and he only takes in these three guys, these three fighters. Shouldn't say guys because Rose is a part of that. But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible. An incredible performance to have all three of them on the card. All three of them come through and win. I mean, it says something for the coach and coaches as well behind these fighters. Just, I mean, incredible. So
how did you feel about that Usman Covington fight towards the end? I felt like after Covington got dropped, that fight kind of changed. I don't know whether it was he knew he had more to lose. He had already lost in that point.
Yeah, I mean, it's that fear. Once he faced the fear and it actually ended up happening, it's like, hey, I got to be more.
And I think that was it. He fought really defensive in those first two rounds, and then he got dropped late in that second. And after that, I really thought the fight turned. I think the biggest mistake Covington made in that fifth and final round was he shot twice.
All right.
He rocked Usman once, had him, it looked like a little bit stumbled, and he went for the takedown, which allowed Usman, has only been taken down once in his career, if they gave him that takedown. I don't know if they gave Cody that takedown. It was so up and down that I don't think you would score it really a takedown.
Right.
But he tried to take him down, and I think his best thing there would have been get distance again, and his hands were really working at the end. So it's one of those that, man, I'd love to see it run back, but like you say,
there's nothing to gain though.
There's nothing to gain, but who's next? There's nobody next. Masvidal, he's beat Masvidal twice. That's the thing with Usman. Usman's beat the best of the best.
There's going to be a couple guys there though that are maybe not really, that are not top 10 yet, that are just getting in, that are going to like turn some heads. He's going to take some time off. He's going to be able to sit on it for 6 months, 8 months, whatever.
And I can't say his name, but
someone's gonna have to get busy, and he's gonna come up and be there. So
is it Shamat? Is that how you say his name? That guy just cracked the top 10 in 170. He's the guy that hasn't been hit.
Yeah, he'll be a champ. He's got more wins than he's been punched or hit in any fights, in his UFC fights. More wins.
Right, and now he's in the top 10 now in that weight class. So he's got an opportunity.
I mean, he stays busy. He fights again. He gets up there. He fights one or two more guys. He shows that he should be there. He belongs. He's at the top. And possibly we see that happen. So I can see that going on. So, all right, we're going to move on. I know we got our other guests are kind of out of the limbo on that side of things. And that's all right, because I'm telling you, I can't be into every sport, and I can't know everything that's going on. I mean, that's why we kind of leave it to have multiple people to touch on things. So college football, Brady, I'm going to you guys listen to this and tell me, you guys can go around and tell me. I'm going to just throw out some highlights here. I'm going to leave you guys with some highlights on the college football for this past week, okay? Because there was a lot of interesting games, right? Illinois defeats my Gophers, 20-ranked Gophers. They were not ranked, right? Illinois was not. North Carolina defeats 9 Wake Forest. And this dude was almost going to be my playmaker for the week, but I just couldn't do it because his team lost, Wake Forest. But that Hartman kid, 398 yards and 5 touchdown passes and still loses. North Carolina defeats Wake Forest, number 9 Wake Forest. That's huge. And then we got Georgia continues to win. No big thing there. They played an unranked team. TCU defeats number 12 Baylor. Purdue defeats number 3 Michigan State University this week. And Boise State defeats 23 Fresno State. So we'll skip balls. We can go to Brady. We can go Brian. We can go Nate. Brady, you started. Talk to me on the college football just this weekend, man. Anything you want to throw out there off that as well?
Well, I will say firstly that at the week after the college football playoff rankings come out, which last week was the first time that they'd come out, a top 4 team had lost every single year, and it happened again. Michigan State Spartans. And, Purdue has the most wins all time against top 5 opponents. So they just seem to be the team that gets it done. And I think there were some interesting things in the college football playoff. They seem to really be valuing head-to-head this year. There's multiple scenarios where they had teams one spot ahead of the team behind them. Even though their resume is not as good, if they beat them head-to-head, it seems to be valued. So it's interesting, though, because – the Big Ten's wide open now. You have Michigan, Michigan State, and Ohio State all with one loss. You have Alabama and Georgia obviously are going to meet like we talked about recently. I mean, Oklahoma was on a bye last week, so that they'll have some games coming up. I think they play Baylor, which is a big game for them. So it's wide open. I literally think at this point it's Georgia and everybody else. Until I see Bama go up against them and see how they perform, it's not even 2 teams like it's been in last year's. It's literally Georgia and everybody else.
Yeah, I agree. Brian, you got anything? Got any takes on college football at all?
Not that big on the college football this year. I know Stanford lost again this week, and the coach is on the hot seat now. They paid him a lot of money, and he's not performing anymore. So, yeah, that's about all I know about college football this week.
You're good, Nate. Any takes? Anything I went over? Anything you saw, or anything that sticks out for you?
I mean. It's kind of what like Brady said. It's just like Georgia's just so dominant this year. Like, it doesn't matter the teams unranked and they're ranked. They're literally just winning by like 25, 30 points. I only know team has scored more than 14 points against them so far this season. So defense dominant, solid offense, and back to Purdue. Purdue plays Ohio State this upcoming week. So we got another Purdue upset. I mean, it's up.
Right now, if I'm looking at that, I'm seeing what the money line is, and I'm seeing how much money I could possibly make on that game. I mean, talking about momentum, sometimes momentum just continues to kind of roll and flow when you do something like that. So,
I've got a quick question for Brady. Brady, does Cincinnati have a chance of even getting in?
No.
Because you talk about like, okay, Bama as a 2-loss team makes it in. If Bama somehow beats Georgia in the SEC, Georgia and Bama both have to make it. Same thing's kind of happening in the Big Ten. You don't think Cincinnati has a shot at all? No. I'm on the same page.
One scenario.
Okay, let me hear it.
Georgia beats Bama in the SEC championship game. I think they make it over a 2-loss Alabama, personally. And the Big Ten beat the crap out of each other, where the Big Ten champion is a 2-loss team. So that means either Michigan State or Michigan beats Ohio State, or Ohio State beats Michigan State and then Michigan they got to beat up on each other enough for that to be a 2-loss team. If the second SEC team is a 2-loss team and the Big Ten champion is a 2-loss team, yes, Cincinnati has a chance. Any other scenario, no. They don't play enough opponents. You have one good win over Notre Dame. Congratulations. You played one team all year. That's awesome. Go claim your title like UCF did 2 years ago. We'll see you next season. And I understand there's a lot of people that complain that these guys can only play what's put in front of them. But until something changes with the playoff scenario, you're not going to get in if you don't play anybody. You can't go up and down your schedule every week and say, Michigan, they played Michigan State, Wisconsin, a tough Purdue team, Ohio State, Penn State. You just don't have the strength of opponents, and you can go undefeated, and that's great. And it's good for college football to have different teams from different conferences, but until the playoff expands, you can't ever give them a top 4 spot with one quality win on a season.
And and also Cincinnati, like they never blown like no teams out recently. Like that close game with Tulane, close game with Navy. So we play weak opponents. You got to blow them out by at least 30, 40, 50 points, and they haven't done that. So that's another thing that's going against them as well.
College is big on like just putting up points, right?
Yeah,
like
you have to.
You don't. Yeah,
if you're a team you have to blow teams out by 30. Was it Tulane's 1-6? Yeah, and that was a decent ball game for 3 quarters. That's got to be a 30-point. That's got to be a 30
you don't just hold off when you get that 21-point lead. Like no matter who you're playing, you just keep going. Like you got to keep it rolling. You got to keep it going. You might switch some guys out, but you're not just laying down. You're not just like, hey, we're done. We're not going to score anymore. It's a whole different ballpark than it would be like in the NFL and whatnot. Yep. So, all right. So I'm going to get into it. I think, Brian, this would be a good wheelhouse for you. I know Brady's good on this. Nate's good on this. Ball's somewhat. We're going to save NFL for last, but we're going to pop into the NBA now. And I know you touched on – I'm going to start with Brian on this one. Okay. You touched on Evan Mobley. So, obviously, you've kind of seen what's going on so far in the NBA, especially last week or so. Obviously, him putting up monster numbers. Who do you have like early on? And this will be a question for everybody. We'll start with Brian on this one. Who do you have? Who do you see as being right now where it stands as we're a couple weeks into the NBA season, possible champs or playing in a championship game?
Well,
and a surprise as well, a surprise team for you as well so far.
Yeah, I mean, when you say that, I think it just comes down to the East and West. You're talking the Nets against the Lakers, right? Everybody's harping on the Lakers right now, all their turmoil, but just give them some time to gel and they're going to be right there. There's way too much talent. That team's too stacked to not be there in the end, The Nets, same situation. They got their stuff going on over there too, but again, the team's way too deep to not be there in the end,
Right.
And I don't see anybody else. I mean, Denver, they're going to be tough again, right? Something that surprised me about the NBA, I was watching some highlights last night, and there's some really young athletic stars in this league, and they're doing stuff that I can't believe. I was watching the Rockets highlights last night, and this Jalen Green kid and Kevin Porter Jr., they're
and even that Tate
around like I've never seen anybody fly around,
Yeah.
And just putting it down on people too. It's ridiculous. The team's not very good, but as far as the athleticism out of these young players, it's unbelievable. You used to watch LeBron do this stuff, and it's amazing. You see him flying over people and just crushing it. And now these guards are doing it, and they're half the size of LeBron. They're not anywhere dominant the way he is or was, but they're, Jalen Green's a rookie, and I see this guy making some plays that are insane, and, Cleveland's got the same thing going on over there too. It's just some of the athleticism is unbelievable in the league right now.
What's your take on the Sixers right now? Like, I know it's early, but they're being 8-2 without Ben Simmons, out of the picture.
It's just a shame, man. I just saw a highlight that he finally reported to the team doctors today. It's a sad situation. I mean, let's face it. Doc Rivers said something last year that upset him. He can't get over it. He's being a baby about it. He really needs to just get on the court and prove to Doc that he is the guard that can win a championship, right? But instead, he's holding out and playing games with the team, and he's really messing his career up because no other team's going to want to touch this, And if he doesn't get it right with the Sixers and get on the court and play, which he's a fantastic player, but this mental game that he's playing with the organization, it's really sad. It's really sad. But they're still winning without him, like you said.
Yeah.
So
8-2.
Yeah.
And maybe, the latest that I saw a trade offer for Simmons was the Celtics. Yep. You know what they said they wanted? They Robert Williams, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and securing a first round or whatever. And you know what? They didn't even get a word. They just hung up the phone.
Really? The Celtics can't be giving up Jaylen Brown.
Yeah.
No, they're not going to do that. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, we touched on this since the NBA started too. Like the Warriors are going to be a team that are going to be tough to beat. They still got Klay Thompson coming around here at some point. So
yeah, the Warriors do look very impressive.
And
They've
the Heat,
got,
he got
Gary
probably the
Payton
best
Jr.
defense in the league.
Yeah,
What's that?
This Gary Payton Jr. kid is making a name for himself there too, and Jordan Poole is really starting to play well. And like you said, Thompson's not even on the court,
Right.
And Wiseman's not even playing,
Right.
Yep.
Right.
They got a really good squad. You know what? I didn't think about that when I mentioned the West. Lakers going to have to make it past that first. You're right.
So let's go. Next, we'll touch on NBA. You can touch on any of those points. The Sixers, Simmons, any of your top teams, Nate, anything. We'll go to Nate, then we'll go to Brady on it.
Shoot. Like the NBA early on look like it's kind of wide open because like out east you got Sixers up 8-2. The Miami Heat look really, really good. Kyle Lowry starting to get more comfortable in the offense. Tyler Herro's been putting up buckets. Like PJ Tucker has been a solid addition for that team. So like they're gonna be good out west. I mean, they got east. The Bucks they're gonna be good too. I know they got Drew Holiday back recently, so that's another good addition.
They got Grayson Allen. We touched on Grayson Allen for the Bucks.
Yep, Grayson Allen.
He's been a great surprise this season so far to start out the season. So, Nwora, he did great in the preseason and when he has time, when he gets run, but lately he hasn't been that great like in the regular season. I think he's had maybe one RA game when he's had the run, but he gets a run and then he just doesn't do anything. He doesn't put up much, but yeah, go on. You go ahead, Nate.
And then like you got some teams off to a slow start, like the Celtics off to a slow start, Hawks off to a slow start. So I mean, I know we're about like 10 games in the season, but it just looks like wide open so far. I guess out west, you got the Warriors. They look good. Like I said, Curry, Jordan Poole. Everybody just like they look good out west. Jazz looking good, but see, like, I like the Lakers are like they gonna bounce back, but like I think kind of like touching this like a few like podcast episodes, but like I just think Russ Westbrook's gonna eventually like in that team somehow.
Yeah,
because you already did already. Like he shot him out of games so far this season. Like I know like that I think like the Thunder game, like he like kind of shot him out that game. So I'm like would it be good? Yes, but it's like I think Russ is going to maybe shoot him out like a series. It's like
that's what he does, man. He's great at going to teams, and he's not a I don't feel he's ever going to be a championship caliber player. Like I think he gets to a team and he's just too selfish, even though they try to say he's unselfish. He's all about filling the stat lines. That's what he wants to do. And that's not what it is. It's kind of like the old take Cleveland Brown video where OBJ is on the sideline. I've seen this on Twitter, and he goes up to Nick Chubb and he goes, "Man, I wish I could score a touchdown." And Nick Chubb goes, "I just want to win, man." OBJ's like, "Man, I wish I could score a touchdown." He goes, "I just want to win."
Yeah.
It's like we're two different mentalities, right? So the win mentality, the put the stats up. Brady takes on the NBA, surprises. What do you feel? Anything changed since last time we touched on NBA and kind of still early?
I'm not going to talk too much about teams. I kind of have a question for everybody. Scoring is down in the NBA right now. In regards to that, free throws are significantly down, and I think that's a big thing of how the game's being called. You see guys like James Harden and some of those guys, Trae Young, their free throws are down because of the way the game's being officiated. And my question to everybody, is that something you see happening throughout the rest of the year? Do they come back to norm? How do you see that affecting some guys going on?
I think they're going to continue. I think they're going to continue to officiate the way they started the season, and I don't disagree with it. The whole 3-point shooting, jumping, throwing your body into a guy just to get 3 free throws, I think is ridiculous, right?
Yep.
I don't think that's, they have a guideline or a borderline, because there was one game I was watching a little bit of, and they actually did end up calling it, but the player didn't throw his body in much. The guy had gotten more of his, was coming into his leg. He wasn't really forcing himself as much. It looked like he almost was doing it, but when they replayed it and showed it, it wasn't. Like, they actually got the call right. So I mean, I don't know, man. Like, yeah, that's obviously going to change the scoring. That's obviously going to change the flow of the game. But I don't know. Are we not seeing as many? Are we not seeing as many 3-point shots now because they're calling it that way? Because guys aren't having that ability to throw their body in and get those free throws like they used to last season and seasons beyond. I mean, that's a very solid question. That's a good question. I don't know. I mean, anybody else got a take or want to answer that?
I mean, like I know for me, like I definitely love the way the game's being called now because like you see every year you see like a bunch of guys just pump fake, jump into it, they get 2 free throws, and then next you know like they end up with like 10, 12 free throws. But it's kind of crazy what happened to James Harden because James Harden he could barely average 20 points now. Like the way the game's called. You see like he had like 16, 17. So
yeah,
it's definitely interesting like to see how like it affects like so many people's like games. So however, like I think the NBA might like call it maybe like less strict as you keep going on during the season, but yeah, like I definitely gonna be more like way less free throws. I think you're gonna see way more threes attempted because now people will be like, okay, I can't go to the paint and draw a foul, so let me try like some more threes. So I think threes will probably go up, free throws probably gonna stay low, scoring will stay a little bit low, which is kind of affecting like how you got bet games now because like you so used to like scoring being high, but now it's like all right, I might have bet more unders or like under points. So
yeah. Brian?
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking that maybe the point that you just brought up about the new Harden rule is it's emphasizing the athleticism of these players driving the hoop. And look at Ja Morant. I mean, man, these players are being highlighted for the explosive dunks and attacking the rim now. Where, like you said, people used to just sit out there and draw the foul, and then, maybe there's a correlation there. I'm just sitting here thinking about that. I also think there's a chance that it brings back the relevance of the big man in the sport. That went away for so long just because it wasn't a part of the game to sit down low and just
small ball,
but now it's becoming more important to get it down low. Those two things.
Balls, anything?
And just as like a common fan, it's a better game to watch. Nobody wants to see the ticky-tack fouls. You want to see, and I mean, I get it. Like, it needs to be called on a different level because they are professionals. And we're not there to, I'm sure being there on the court, those officials they hear a lot more. They're able to judge those type of things. But it makes for a better ball game, I think. Let the guys be a little bit physical. That's part of the game, And I agree. It'll be interesting to see if the dominant big man comes back and starts to make a run at the 3-and-D concept.
So before we get into the NFL, the meat and potatoes of this podcast, it usually seems to be, I'm going to ask one question and we're going to go hobby side on this, NBA related. If you're buying one player right now in the NBA, who is it, or who are you recommending people go after and buy? Balls? Well, actually, start with Nate. Nate, we'll go your route first. We'll go
with me
first. Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting because I'm like,
a lot of young talent out there, a lot of rookies this year, a lot of young stars that have been in a few years. I mean, this is a solid question. There's one player in the NBA that you're going to recommend, you're going to go after. If it's your money, you're going after it, and you're recommending people as well.
I got one, Nate. If you want to pass the stick, I got one.
Ooh.
If you want to hold off, you can. If you want to think about it, we can. You don't have to go first. You don't have to go first. You can default. All right.
Yeah.
Brian?
Well, go? Yeah, I got it. My playmaker, Evan Mobley, people should be copping his cards. The problem is he doesn't have any cards out yet. He's only got this Chronicles BSL, right? So there's nothing special for him to collect.
Yeah, but again, it's the same thing. You can bring him up because all that product's going to be rolling out. So like this can be something like, hey, I'm telling someone right now, this is a guy that you need to like go after, so they can start getting the Chronicle stuff, and then as things come, that can be a guy that you could definitely. Yeah, I think that's a great call. I mean,
I would highly recommend
a lot of product out.
Yeah, getting ready for that Mobley and grab it when you can.
Yeah, Brady.
I'm trying to think of somebody who we got a lot of guys in the NBA that are super young, and price points on a lot of those guys. I'm trying to think of somebody in the NBA that's maybe a couple years into their career who's kind of gotten forgotten about. And there's two names that come to my head, and one of them is on my Bulls team, and it's Zach LaVine. I think if you see him in the playoffs this spring, you're going to see a jump in his cards just because of that market.
Yep.
And another one that's super interesting is Miles Bridges.
Yes.
And the reason is his per game averages this year are crazy compared to last year. His stats are he's shooting a lot more per game. He's up around 22 points per game. Last year he was like 15. No, he's 12 last year, up to 22 this year. Still young, 23 years old. The Hornets are playing really well. LaMelo is on that team, so they're going to get some eyes. That might be a good one to get some investment in, especially I'm assuming his prices aren't very high with, being a couple years in the league. So that'd be a good one. Yeah, that'd be a good buy low guy that might be able to increase here in the next couple months.
I like it. Balls?
I mean, mine wouldn't be really low, but if you can get somehow on Ja Morant, I think that's the one right now. I think he's gonna make a push for that MVP, if not this year, probably next. And I think once he hits that, you're going to see his market. It was him and Zion racing. There's going to be a clear horse out of those two in that class here soon. And I think he's the one if you're going bigger. But if not, I mean, Tyler Hero right now, his market kind of bottomed out for a little bit. But he's seeming to play a little bit better this year. And I still think that you could find him at a decent price, that if you wanted to go that route, you could.
So I'm going to go, if I'm talking a rookie, I'm going to probably say Scotty Barnes. If I'm going to go a kid that's a few years in the league and injuries continue to kind of follow this kid around a little bit. But, man, the dude has been a monster so far to start the season for what he does, like with everybody around him. How about DeJounte Murray for the Spurs?
Yep.
Just about putting up triple doubles. He's got almost a couple triple doubles to start this season. So, and he's got Derek White right there, shooting guard who's putting up big numbers as well. So it's hard when you got two guys like that and him to still put up that kind of production with somebody right next to him, a shooting guard that's putting up some pretty decent numbers. So, all right, Nate.
Okay.
Do 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 do.
All right. Okay. So. I'm gonna go some kind of I guess underrated, but he's playing some good ball so far this season. That's Cole Anthony, point guard for the Orlando Magic.
Cole, baby.
Magic ball now, but yeah, like he's just been scoring diamond, like so he's been definitely a surprise for me. So I definitely think like hopefully the Magic could like continue to like either develop their talent or get a couple more good draft picks in, and he could definitely be like their point guard in the future for sure. So I go Cole Anthony for mine.
I love it. All right, guys, I appreciate that. Now we're getting into the bread and butter of the show. We're getting into the talk that I think we all have quite a bit of knowledge on, quite a bit of take on, quite a bit of beef potatoes, if you will. So I really honestly, before we really get into the games, we had the whole Henry Ruggs situation, which is terrible, right? We have another Raider getting cut today. Was it today, right? With the whole today. TikTok video with him with guns telling somebody, pull up, I'll kill you.
Arnett.
And don't worry about it. I got more boys in my house. It's not just me. So pull up. You see what's going to happen. What's up with these guys and how they're carrying themselves, man? Like I touched a little bit on this. I feel like they need to put something in place for these young players in probably every sport, pretty much, right? Until they're until they get matured and they're taught properly with this kind of money and the name and what they have and how they carry themselves, to have some type of actual assistant, not a manager that, you know, their financial advisors and whatever, like an actual like assistant that lives with them, maybe has their own whatever, that lives with them, that takes them places. There was something I know that was noted. Some Miami Dolphins guy or something that wrote something in regards to, he picked up, I forget what player it was, but he picked up some player, like he'd pick him up numerous times when he was out somewhere partying or drinking or whatever. But I think these guys should almost be with them. Like if they're going to events, like they drive them there, or they're there with them and they make sure that they don't leave and go drive off or do something else. You know what I mean? Like they can't be their dads, but at the same time, like these kids are so young. They have so much money. They're invited to all these crazy events, right? I mean, we look at even silly things that happen, like going on the Travis Scott thing and like Stampede stuff and just people being weird. But like these guys are probably attending things like this as well. So like getting these guys in the direction where they should be doing, especially in season and not out screwing around. Did you guys see that too? Like they released some, like, I don't know if he was like, Henry Ruggs was like Instagramming video or something, but like somebody said he, like, there's like a screenshot of like, you could see his dash as he's driving and like all the numbers in the digital are like all like 12 times just because how fast he's going, like holding this thing. And someone's like, yo, man, are you like okay? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to make it. I'll make sure I make it home like 100 or whatever. Like, and like people are just like, I mean, they're pulling more and more stuff on this. But what do we do to change all this craziness that's kind of going on with all these young players? Or is there even an answer?
Well,
anybody want to touch on it before we dive into the games and what happened this week with the games?
Yeah, I have two thoughts. First of all, the NFL Players Association has 24/7, 365 days a year black car service for all their players, which means you call a number and a car come picks you up. How on earth, if you're an NFL player, if you know you're going to go out to a place that you're drinking alcohol, how are you not calling that? And if you don't feel comfortable calling that, how are you not making sure that you're not driving home? So that's just, and another thing that I saw that's very interesting is something that is specific to the Raiders now that they're in Las Vegas. They talked recently about how Miami has to vet if guys can handle the city of Miami. And that's just because of the fact that Miami is known for its parties. It's known for its nightlife. It's known for its craziness. And now you have a place in Las Vegas that offers those similar things. And you're going to have to try to figure out, can these young 20-year-old athletes who are now millionaires handle the responsibility of being in that city? And that's something that I don't think they had to worry as much about when they were, in Oakland. But it's something that now these young guys, especially an organization, I'm sure these organizations all have resources out to these guys on, being, fiscally responsible with their money, making good decisions, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, it's we have this culture of flashing and, I want to drive my Corvette and I want to go 200 miles an hour with my girlfriend in the front seat. It's just crazy to me that people would sacrifice his entire career, right? His entire 18 years of playing football is gone because of that decision. It's just insane.
But see, that's where I think like a class, something you can call, like at the end of the day, when they get into a mentality, right? We may have all been there. We may have drank a lot before. We get our different, I'm not saying we went and drank and drove, or maybe you have done or whatever, but you get in a different mentality like a He-Man, or I'm untouchable, I'm unstoppable. Like this is where I think if there's something more in place where it's not a friend of theirs, like this is no friend relationship type deal. This is someone who is under the National Football League or the NBA, basketball association, whatever, that's attached to this person. And if they don't follow suit, like if there's certain things in situations and they don't follow suit, and this reporter or whatever, like there's serious things that happen, right? Now you can't make it a buddy of theirs, because what's a buddy gonna end up doing? This is gonna, oh yeah, it's fine, dude. In this situation, maybe would have tried to talk him into it, but he would have talked him out of it. No, somebody who's not gonna let anything like that fly. Like this is a no-fly zone. Like, you're not getting off. You're not going to go drive or get in a car. I'm getting you and your girlfriend back to the house, or I'm doing whatever, you know? I mean, it's just like Derek Carr says, man, call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. Well, the offer's there, and that's extremely awesome, but that didn't happen. And even if he knew that was available, he didn't do it, right? Because, again, he was in a different mindset. He was double the limit. Like, he's not going to think about that. He's not going to think about some whatever. There's got to be something in place, somebody there or something. And I hate to call it a babysitter, man, because it shouldn't have to be. But again, we see it. We're seeing it right now in front of our own eyes. Like, it's just insane.
Yeah, you're hitting at like a personal assistant. But the thing is the team probably can't do that. It can't be on the team to do that. It would have to be on the individual, because at what point does a player have freedom then from the team? There's got to be that work-life balance. They sign a contract to play football, but at the end of the day, they leave the facility and still go home like a normal.
Right, but this person appointed to really has, besides being appointed to them, really has no, like, they're not sitting there telling them, hey, we got to go look at the playbook right now, you know, when it's not his time, where it's his thing, or we got to do this or that. He's just personally making sure that, oh, he can go do whatever he wants to do. Oh, you're going to go do that? Okay, I drive you, I bring you there, I drop you off, I pick you up, or I go whatever, and I'm there, whatever, when you're ready to go, and I take you wherever. It's not, you have to do this. You have to go sprint, you know, do sprints later or whatever.
I get that. I get that. But if I'm a professional athlete and I'm doing what I need to do as a player, I shouldn't have to check in with anybody. You know, that unfortunately the Henry Ruggs situation is, I think a lot with the NFL happens. They highlight a lot of the bad. There's a lot of good things, good community work that's done. But one story like this is going to show a lot of the bad. And unfortunately, Brady hit it on the head with Vegas. Vegas has a big issue with it right now. The team has to provide that, but it's the old debate. Is it nature versus nurture? They can only provide so much, and then the person has to do it.
No, I get it. But then you go back and you look at things like Aaron Henderson, right? So again, like, and how much are we not seeing? How often does something like that Henry Ruggs situation that didn't end up fatal, where some guy's going 100, 120 miles an hour somewhere down some stretch and just makes it home? You know what I mean? That we don't even, I mean, how often is there stuff we're not seeing where they're putting themselves on risk? And again, I get it. It probably will never happen. But I feel like these guys are not old enough and not mature enough when they get into the league, in most cases, to be able to handle the kind of money they have, the riches, the glass, whatever, and they want to, like you said, show off for their girlfriend and do this and do that. It's just, it's leading to. Go ahead.
I do think that can be where the Players Association comes into effect versus the team. That can be where you can get around that whole them being to the team. But yeah. I will say that Damon Arnett, the guy who threatened to kill somebody and got released by the Raiders, he crashed 5 rental cars in a month. So, like, there were multiple things that were going on with this dude before this happened. So, I think there is responsibility on the player. But I was talking with some of my buddies. They're making so much money. I would never drive. I'd have somebody drive me everywhere. I'm not driving anywhere. I want to go to a bar. You're driving me to a bar. I want to go somewhere. You're driving me. Like Brady,
that again goes back to them wanting to showboat and show off, right? He's driving his Lamborghini with his girlfriend. He wants to show. He doesn't want to. He's not trying to show off his girlfriend with some Lyft driver, some Lux car that gets picked up.
I'm taking a limo everywhere.
And if you look at the greatest player of all time, Tom Brady. He has a personal assistant. I can't think of his name. It's blanking me right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes, that's what again, you're exactly right. But
that's what I'm getting at.
They have to. I don't know if it's a locker room thing.
There should be something in place, like when they first are drafted in at their young age of 18, 19, 20, 21, whatever it is, at least through the first so many years, right? And there's some type of thing in place. I don't know, man.
Every player, Def? Every player gets one?
I'm saying anyone that's like young, that's like just drafted, right? So just drafted, basically, like, and I'm not saying, again, they're not somebody who They don't have to do what this person says. When they want to go do things, this person is responsible for getting them there and getting them back and whatever. Like if they're going to parties or going to events, they're doing this or doing that. Almost like a personal assistant like Tom Brady's had. Right, exactly. Like up through a certain time frame until they mature. So, but I don't know. Just something I'm throwing out there. All right, guys, let's get into the enough about all that talk and whatnot. So we had a lot of crazy games, a lot of what you would say upsets this week, right? We got Titans over Rams, Jags over Bills, Josh Allen getting the better of Josh Allen, right? That was going to be somebody's playmaker, actually, but they went with someone else. Cards without Kyler over the Niners, which I think was huge. The Packers falling flat, which I thought was going to be a different outcome. I thought Jordan Love would at least – I didn't think he was going to be a superstar, but I thought that – even fantasy-wise, for his minimal price tag, he was going to put up enough to make it pay off, but that backfired. Aaron Jones didn't even get anything going on. So, guys, just run with it, man. Whoever wants to start, what's your takes? What did you like out of this week in the NFL? What did you see? Highlights? Talk to me.
Well, first off, did you see they put Jordan Love's mom in the very top row?
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yep, I did see that.
What was that all about?
Well, let's be honest. The other quarterback from Green Bay wasn't going to invite his family, so they weren't prepared for tickets for family members. So that's why they had to fit them in.
I mean, come on.
Put them in the nosebleeds.
Yeah.
But it was definitely a funky week in football. So another one's the Broncos dominated the Cowboys. It was like 30-0 at one point. The score looks better than the actual game was. Yeah. So that's another thing. Like I said, Jaguars won 9-6, an ugly game. The Browns destroyed the Bengals. No Odell, no problem apparently there. So yeah, it was just a weird week in football. But I did see something bringing up. It was like what do the Vikings do with Mike Zimmer? I mean, because this another blown lead here for the.
Somebody actually asked that. Somebody actually asked that or put that up earlier. Too. It's a good question. I don't know, man. And unfortunately, I don't know if it's Zimmer. I don't know if it's the coordinators, but even if it comes down to that, then it comes down to Zimmer. Or I don't know if it's from more of the higher end front office like Spielman, right? Spielman's been there forever. Yep. Spielman's been there for I don't know how many years. He's been a part of that whole missed pick thing like in the past. I mean, he's been in all of this and through all this. And I honestly feel like maybe to start at the front office, like with Spielman, is maybe your first step. I don't know that Zimmer is the answer. Like, I don't know that he's the answer to stay here and be successful. It's really hard to say right now. I've always been a fan of Zimmer, to be honest with you. Is he just not holding his offensive coordinator responsible enough? I don't know, man. We come out, fireworks, Dalvin Cook breaks an 80-yard run. We look great to start off like we do a lot of times, and then we just kind of go flat. Like I don't get it. I don't understand it. We have the talent there. I don't know, man. I know Danielle Hunter being gone on that one defensive end is a big blow to us, big time. I mean, dude's a beast. But next man up, right? It's the NFL. Mm-hmm. You got to have somebody that can come in. That can't be your excuses for losing. That can't be why you lose. You can't make it. You got to have another player to fill in. You got to have somebody that can step up and be the next man. I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. We got a lot of fire Zimmer stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Does it start there? Does it start? I mean, just weird crap, right?
Yep.
Like Kubiak, like the Gary Kubiak. He leaves or whatever. I think that was due to all the vaccine crap. If I recall, I don't remember if he was part of that. So now his son his son takes over as the offensive coordinator this year. I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is right now. I mean, as much as I wouldn't mind a new head coach, but what does a new head coach bring us? Like, who's out there? Who fills in? Who comes in for Zimmer? Who's actually out there that we think would actually do a better job on just the head coach end than Zimmer right now? I don't know. I don't have a name that just sticks out that says, yeah, this is the guy I want replacing Zimmer as head coach for the Vikings? I don't know. I don't have that answer.
You want Jim Harbaugh?
No. He can keep his fucking khakis.
Hey, I think the Bengals defense is suspect, man. They got rolled over on by the Browns, a beat up Browns.
Yeah.
And the week before they got rolled over by a Jets team and Mike White. So
Right.
I think that defense is going to be a problem for them. Offense seems to have it rolling, but I don't know. Unless they could shore that up, they're not going anywhere.
I agree. Balls?
And my big thing is I thought this was kind of the regression back to the mean week, which is the teams that we thought were going to pull away and really stand out, your Cowboys, your Green Bay Packers, the top teams in the divisions, we thought here they're going to win, and add to their lead. And you see that any given Sunday, any team can get beat. I did find it very interesting that the Arizona Cardinals did still beat San Francisco. San Francisco's going through some things, but it just shows how deep that Cardinals team is. They played pretty well. And actually, I just noticed that you're wearing a Cardinals hat.
I had Cardinals. I had James Conner in my lineups on DraftKings.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
2.5% ownership this week.
Heck yeah, there
2.5% ownership. He was in the Millie. I think he was in the Playmaker lineup as well.
But we see a lot of these teams, and it made me kind of think. I was looking at this week. Patrick Mahomes kind of struggled again. We see struggles from even Josh Allen, and the 1-2 thing. The thing that sticks out with those two teams to me is it doesn't seem like either team really tried. Buffalo yesterday, it seemed like every time they're putting so much on these quarterbacks, and it kind of goes back to our basketball conversation. We've seen so much of this spread offense and now so much put on these quarterbacks to be elite playmakers. Are we going to see teams build up their offensive line and get to that nasty style of run game again where, defenses continually get smaller and smaller now? You got linebackers that are a lot smaller than they've ever been.
Right.
Because they want them to be able to cover. That would be my big question is, do we see the game kind of go back through one of those cycles now?
So you touched on something like that, but even the Rams actually have that. As much as they have such an explosive pass game, they have that Darrell Henderson that the dude, and they can run the ball. You saw it. Darrell Henderson had some great runs even just this past week against Tennessee. But then that brings up the other thing. Is Tennessee for real? What in the hell, man? 3 weeks now with no Derrick Henry, pretty much.
And that was going to be kind of my lead-in with that. Even without Derrick Henry, and I put it in our group chat, that Tennessee team's physical up front. Yeah. Both on that offense and defensive line, that team is physical up front. And you see it a lot right now. If your team is not physical in them trenches, if you're a little bit soft, you're getting beat on Sundays a lot of times. Yep. Minnesota, they're a good team, right? But I think really it came down to the trenches yesterday. And while they played really good at times, they opened big holes for Dalvin Cook. I just think that Baltimore team was a little bit more physical throughout the game. And it's just it's that little bit of a difference. And I think that's what we're seeing between, these elite teams right now is who can be physical up front. Even Tampa Bay, they get this big credit for being, this wide receiver based team with Tom Brady, but they've got Leonard Fournette running that ball, and he's pounding the rock. And Ryan Jansen, their center, is a mean center.
Antonio Brown comes back this week.
Yeah,
Antonio Brown comes back this week. You guys already
that offensive line churns people out. So it really makes me wonder if we see a shift. We really saw the shift of spread offense where the quarterback can protect everything. Now do we shift back to we need to protect the quarterback with offensive line, with running back, not worry too much about the receivers, because our quarterback will make the receivers better by proxy.
Yeah. Yeah. Terry P says, how much of the Bengals was the offense turning over and causing too much time on the field? Question mark. So turning it over.
Where's OBJ going?
I don't know, man. I would,
Yeah.
you know, do you think,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I might venture to say like he may land in somewhere like, I don't know, man. He might end up in like Green Bay. With Adam.
Do that.
Hey, just so that they can have a little bit more drama in the locker room. That's all. At the end of the day.
Well, he said he wants to go to a contender, so
I think Seattle.
Green Bay would be a contender. Seattle would be a contender. Russell Wilson's coming back. That's another big news headline. He will be back this week. That was just announced tonight. That's a big surprise from when they thought he was. That's big news for Seattle fans. So,
and I think if you look at some of the teams that were named to be in like consideration for him, Seattle, New Orleans, even kind of, I'm not big on him in San Francisco. Kyle Shanahan, those are kind of the three teams that I've heard about being interested in him. Those are pretty well regarded coaches, known to be able to handle a locker room. You know, maybe not Shanahan, but you know, Pete Carroll and Sean Payton, I think would be able to handle that personality. A guy like Bill Belichick, if the Patriots wanted to go after him, could handle that type of personality, I think.
My question is, why do the Raiders pick up Deshaun Jackson today if they're going to also be going after? I mean, they lose Ruggs, right? I get it. So you pull in Jackson. He's old though. He's still got that deep threat. He showed it in last. He showed it with the Rams. He has deep touchdown earlier this year. But you got Brian Edwards. You got Hunter Renfrow. Edwards would be like a deep guy. Who else they got? Who's another receiver they have there? Waller at tight end, right? But receiver wise, though, I thought they had somebody else too. Why am I not thinking it? Besides, obviously, Ruggs, who's gone now. But I don't know. I mean, it's weird that they pick him up unless they're looking to use him as like more of a punt kick returner, maybe, or just for a throw in here and there. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see where he lands. You know, honestly, I think none of us really know. I'm kind of shocked that, you know, when are we going to find this out? When someone going to make it happen? Or when's he going to make his decision on who actually really wants him? I guess that's what we need to find out here. Tomorrow. But again, are the Titans? I mean, we talk about this every single week, right? The Titans, like, are they for real? And again, I just have to throw my Antonio Brown is back this week, or should be more than likely, and you know what that means. You better fire him up on all your lineups, because I'm going to be. And I'm going to be smiling at the top of the leaderboards with Antonio Brown waving at you if you don't play him. He's going to be cheap again.
I think the Titans are for real, Def. I really do. I think Vrabel's got that team in a good spot. I mean, they've been contenders for a few years now, and I think he's finally got them over the hump. They've been rolling for a few weeks now, just dominating teams, and I think they really showed yesterday that they're the real deal, man. Even without Henry, I mean, you can
Boul says they're physical, right? On the front, on the front lines,
you know.
Why are they physical? Because look at their coach. Yes,
Vrabel's physical.
Physical beast.
He understands it.
His mentality, he's pushing to the players, their mentality. He's breeding that same mentality that he has with his players.
I mean, and if we had to have an NFL coaches fight, if the coaches had to fight each other in a battle, Vrabel's whooping all their asses.
Well, I don't, you know, there would that Jets coach though too. That's a freaking beast too, man. I don't know if I would just count him out just yet. He might do a little Van Damme on Vrabel's butt. You know, Vrabel would be more full attack ground if he got him to the ground, but he might do some like Van Damme type weirdness and not let him take him to the ground. You know what I mean?
Oh, what about Detroit?
The Lions? Oh,
the
yeah,
head
the coach.
Yep.
Yeah,
coach.
he tends to want to be a pretty bad
It'd be a
mother.
decent fight.
Yeah.
Taking Vrabel.
Kickers, what's going on with the kickers, man? I don't know, dude.
Who knows?
As much as the game, like they'll never get away with the game with the kickers. I don't know, man. I wish the game could be played a different way without the kickers, to be honest with you. That's my own personal opinion. I don't know.
Well,
Now, it should make you respect the guys like Adam Vinatieri and Gostkowski and Robbie Gould, the guys that have had those long careers, and the league wanted to make kicking harder. They've done that. Extra points aren't gimmies. And I think, honestly, you think about that, the player psychology. If you miss an extra point, which they consider a gimme, how's that affect a kicker? Yeah, he's supposed to go out there and make the next one. But then if he misses a second, miss an extra point, miss a field goal in a game, you're in your head mentally, whether or not. And I just think that the game, I'm surprised more teams don't go for 2. Honestly, there's math behind it.
I agree. Yeah.
If you don't get the 2-point
Analytics
conversion,
say
you might as well keep going for 2 every time.
Right.
But teams just don't do that,
So
we
kind of touched on. Go ahead.
I think Baltimore, although they're 6-2 right now, I don't think they'd be 6-2 if they didn't have Justin Tucker.
Oh, no.
He's won about 3 or 4 of those games single-handedly for them.
Yep.
Right.
Prime example of where they matter.
So Buffalo, right? But if kickers were never there, what we're saying is we wouldn't be talking about Justin Tucker winning 2 games, like at the same point, right? So if it wasn't in the picture, they wouldn't even be part of the discussion. But yes, I agree. What happened in Buffalo during this bye week? I honestly, in my own opinion, I just feel like they didn't prepare. They didn't prepare. I feel they just kind of came into this week as we're better than them. There's a mentality, and it's just the same thing with Denver over the Cowboys, right? Like teams have these weeks. Like even the better teams in the league have piss poor performances against not that great of teams. And the flip side of this thing, I think, too, if you want to take it on a mental side or mentality side, is the Jaguars probably prepped their tails off more than they have a few weeks to get prepared for this game. And, the likes of somebody like Josh Allen on the Jag side came to play, and he was like I said, he was almost he would have been Brady's playmaker for the week, So I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what my take is. Anybody else on Buffalo coming out flat after a bye week?
I mean, that's the NFL. Is a week-to-week league. You could look.
Not for long if you make those kind of calls. That was an old Bill Collar sideline thing from one of the. Remember the old NFL films highlights that I think the guy passed away. Man, rest in peace. I forget what his name was, but he made all those NFL film highlight videos, and he'd have all the clips of the video of the people. And Collar's on the sidelines, and he goes, "This is the NFL, which stands for not for long when you keep making those kind of calls." There's some good ones. So I remember you remember Barry Foster from Pittsburgh? And he'd be like, Collar would be like, "Hey, Barry, you want a touchdown?" And he'd be on the sideline. He'd be like, "Yeah." You go get your ass in there. And then next play, they hand it off. Foster gets a touchdown. It's hilarious. Oh, the best ones too were the Mike Singletary ones when he was ramped up. Brady and them would, man, he was insane to watch when he'd be mic'd up, his highlight videos and telling them, and he would be like there and he'd be telling them, "Move, shift." And he'd be like, "Coming this, whatever," way before the thing, and then they'd be right there. And he'd be like, "I told you his ass was going over there." Like it was awesome. Did we lose somebody? Oh. That's all right. We lost him for a second.
Love you back.
Well, I personally have never been more convinced that Kansas City is a terrible football team. They won, and I still think they're a garbage football team.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, I don't think that proved anything because with Jordan Love, they played flat as hell. The Packers did. Jordan Love was not prepared. He wasn't ready. He's not ready to be a starter in the NFL. And
Yep.
I agree. They barely beat him. To be honest with you, it wasn't like it was an insane blowout game. Like, and Jordan Love was playing like crap.
And let's not act like the Packers defense is good, because it's average. It's league average. They're nothing special. Right. So, but no, just to touch earlier about the Titans being real, their last 4 weeks are win over the Bills, win over the Chiefs, win over the Colts, win over the Rams. Is there a better 4-game stretch in the entire NFL this year? Mm-hmm. I think they have to be the favorites in the AFC right now. They've beaten everybody else. So, and so I think they're the real deal at this point. And I know the first week of this, I was joking around in that Bills game, and I said the Bills are going to win by a touchdown. But, man, that team just that Mike Vrabel has inspired that team, and they showed this week that they can win without Derrick Henry. So,
Brady, you got their schedule up?
I do.
Do they play Baltimore this year?
No. The big games they have left are Saints next week, and the Patriots and the Steelers.
Steve Sable was his name.
But listen, Texans are bad. Jaguars are bad. They play the Texans again. The Dolphins aren't looking great, and the 49ers aren't looking great. So they have a very easy second-half schedule. They got through their gauntlet going 4-0, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's a 12, 13-win team.
Just run it, yeah.
Hey, you want to talk about those Sixers? They lost to the Knicks tonight, but they didn't have Joel Embiid. But Drummond had 25 rebounds tonight. 25.
That's Drummond. Drummond is a double-double machine, but – yeah, with Sixers, I mean, no Embiid, no Tobias Harris, no Matisse Thybulle.
You got to throw in there. We can't get too sidetracked. We got to keep back to the I just saw that real quick. I was like, whoa, 25 rebounds? That's crazy. All right, who was talking? I interrupted somebody.
With Titans, I mean, things like the biggest concern head to the season was the defense, because obviously everybody's talking about the defense being like either bad or like average, but the defense has been phenomenal the past few weeks, especially against the Rams. They're getting tons of pressure on Stafford the whole game, forced them to bad throws, interceptions. So the fact that the defense is good and A.J. Brown's finally emerged, then obviously number one.
Right.
Julio's been solid. They've been getting some production out of the tight ends. And so, yeah, they look like a complete team. So they definitely look like the favorites so far.
Could be scary.
Yep.
I mean, that, you know what? I don't know. I mean, I still think the Rams are up there, even losing to Tennessee. Tennessee's had the better game from last night. But dude, that could have been a glimpse of somewhat of the Super Bowl right there.
Yeah.
You never know. You never really know. I mean, hard to say. There's a lot of good teams in the NFC, but all right. But yeah. All right. Anyone else? Anything with the takes? Let me see what else. Someone else.
Here's a take. Here's a take. Fire Matt Nagy. This game's terrible. It's so bad.
All right.
We're at halftime, and they have like 60 yards of total offense. Justin Fields threw a pick to a 380-pound lineman.
Every game, they only put up like 150, 200 yards of offense. What's going on, man?
It's just so bad. Their line's not good. They don't do any sort of schematic to roll him out of the pocket and move him and use his athletic ability. It's the reason that Mitch Trubisky fell off so hard, is they stopped using his athletic ability. It's just a bad coach team, and it's a team that's getting old on defense. It's just horrible. I'm so disappointed.
All right. We're into our final stretch of the podcast. This is where we go over again your guys' questions, comments from the previous shows once it uploads. You guys can do that. Once this stream tonight uploads, drop your topics, questions, comments for next week. You can get your shot at $30 PayPal, which Terry P won tonight. Congrats, or auction credit, whatever he prefers, and you prefer as well when you win it. So we're going to start right from the top here. Good talk, everyone. Hope to see you. That wasn't anything. You just said World Series win by Atlanta from Derby. All right. Tyler says, with the Browns releasing Odell Beckham, do you believe they are in a better overall position without him? ? Will this lead to a breakout for Donovan Peoples-Jones? That's actually a pretty good question. So Donovan Peoples-Jones, Brady, go ahead.
Michigan man.
Yeah, he is. Yep.
He's one
Yeah.
of those guys that didn't play that great in college, but has all the athletic ability and skill in the world. It was interesting. A report came out this week that talked about Baker and Odell didn't have a ton of issues off the field, but there was some tension on the field of Baker feeling like he had to get the ball to Odell. And, you look at some of the stats of Odell on the field versus other wide receivers on the field, and it was obvious, I think, just looking at the stats. I think it's probably a better team going forward in regards to the distractions gone. Now, whether or not that leads to more wins is a completely different conversation, but I think there's going to be – and I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to have a good year. So if you're in a Dynasty Fantasy Football League, that might be an option to make a move.
Right, exactly. All right, next is actually a comment, and then we'll have a question I'll pull up after that. But this is from Victor Negron Cards. He says, no question this week. Just wanted to say I enjoyed the answers to my baseball free agency question last week. Was not expecting Brady to pick Correa and was not expecting me to pick Robbie Ray, but each of those players make sense for your teams. And so that was cool. Appreciate you, Victor, always leaving comments, being a part of it, and all your support. Next is going to be from Jay Schmo. Seems like the Rams are all in with the acquisition of Von Miller. Do you think the solidification of their pass rush makes them the favorite to win the division, or does their remaining strength of schedule give Arizona the advantage? ? Good question from Mr. Schmo. Anyone want to answer that?
I think
forgot about Von Miller when we were talking about the Titan Ram matchup, because when they meet again in the playoffs, that's going to be a different story, isn't it?
Yeah. Right.
I mean, they obviously added Von Miller, and then you already got Aaron Donald. So yeah, like that pass rush is definitely gonna be lethal. But I'm not sure what the schedule looks like after for the rest of the season. But
I can tell you, I got it up here.
Go ahead.
Okay,
bring it on.
Big games left. They have 49ers next week. We'll see how that's Monday night. Then they have Packers, Cardinals in a couple weeks. Then they go Seahawks, Vikings, Ravens, and then 49ers to end the season.
How many home games do they have left?
They have 1, 2, 3 home games. They're on the road against the Ravens, on the road against the Cardinals, on the road against the Packers.
Ooh. Yeah, that's tough.
They've had a tough schedule, man.
Yeah. Anyone else want to add to that, or move on? Moving on?
Yep.
All right. This one's from our guy Brady. Where do you see the hobby settling post-pandemic? Will the new hype in card collecting stay long term, or was it simply a flash in the pan? ? Anyone?
Yeah, I guess I'll start with it. Honestly, like at first, I thought the hype was probably gonna die down. What's the, I guess, post pandemic, but I think the hobby's just in a good mode right now. Like there's so many people in it. There's so much, there's so much money that's going around the hobby. So and then especially with new products coming out, I know a lot of people getting 401, and obviously basketball is still popular, football, baseball. So yeah, honestly, I think the hype and the hobby's going to continue to keep growing and growing.
You were just at the Dallas Card Show too, the big Dallas Card Show.
Yeah, it was. It was
traffic steady, busy.
Yeah, it was pretty busy for the most part, but yeah, it was so many big deals going left and right. You see $1,000 bills going. You see all the hype. Yeah, the hobby definitely in a good spot right now. Definitely.
Brian, want to touch on?
Yeah, I do. I think I was looking at some not forecasting, but some charts from last year and the hobby and the peaks and valleys that it was going through. And it seemed to have 3 distinct peaks. And the only thing I could think of in my head was those were probably the exact same times that the stimulus checks went out, right?
Right.
And I don't think you can deny the fact that everybody was sitting home, everybody needed a hobby, everybody needed something to take their mind off of the, quarantine.
Yep.
And I think it definitely stimulated the hobby. That being said, when it stimulated the hobby, now everybody is out of quarantine, back in some type of daily routine, and don't have the time or the resources to be spending on their hobby. right?
Right.
I think there are a lot more people in the hobby, which is a good thing.
Yep.
And I think there's a lot of young people in the hobby too. But some of these people that join the hobby to stimulate it are distracted by other things like NFTs and other allocations of their resources right now. So I think, like Nate said, I think it's in a good place. I think there's a lot of volume in it,
Yep.
but the prices aren't there that were there before when people were getting in and didn't quite understand the the scarcity of cards and the collecting aspect of it. I don't think it's definitely changed from collecting to a business, right? It's all about the profit and how I can flip this, how I can flip that, how can I get the most money off of that hobby box, retail box, but it's not collecting. It's definitely changed.
Right.
And that's all I got to say about that.
Okay.
And it makes me wonder, like the product, coming in, the product chain, the supply chain. What happens with that? I've kind of been listening on Go GTS. It sounds like there may be a bit of a dip in what we see for product being put out. Some of the bigger companies, like Upper Deck is already thinking about what products maybe they aren't releasing next year. And it'll be interesting to see how the card companies deal with the supply chain to kind of, does the market dry up? I don't think so. I think, though, maybe our market for product is going to become more expensive. We might not see as much of it put out, but what will be there is going to be more valuable. I have a feeling right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's
kind
of my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think if you cut out some of this product, right, it's kind of like we go back and you think about what all Panini's done this year, right? With like Select used to be exclusive, right? It used to be hobby exclusive, hobby only. Now they make it retail, which is fine, great, more merrier, more product, more merrier. But now you got all these die cut rookies, right? A guy I'll highlight like Justin Jefferson as being a Vikings fan. Now instead of like the select few different die cut rookies that he would have had in hobby products, you have all the retail variations now, and you have a million different color deal, like non-numbered die cut rookies even now. That just drops complete value on the select. Just period. People are just like, the select doesn't have that value like it does anymore. Prism.
Oh yeah.
I used to be a bigger fan of select than I was Prism, and Prism was always kind of that big baby, like on that mid to getting close to higher tier product, right? With hobby. But now I used to be heavier on select when it was still only hobby exclusive. But since it went retail, forget it. I'm a bigger fan of Prism now. I mean, we have to have the retail products. Don't get me wrong. They need to be there, but you can't oversaturate it. Like you can't just take everything that's like hobby exclusive and now make that retail exclusive as well. And just, keep flooding everything in, because it oversaturates the market. We just way too many products, way too many rookies, you know? So that's kind of my takes on that.
Well, I think
go ahead.
No, that's kind of what we talked about recently. I think we talked about it maybe a podcast or two ago about the hobby and the collecting in general changing.
Yep.
I think you look even from 2 years ago, right? Like I collect baseball a lot. Tatis's first Chrome was a desired card. But with the increase in production, if you're not getting something numbered, it's not worth a ton. And you look even farther back, Mike Trout had 3-4 rookie cards that were prominent. You know how many rookie cards of Nico Horner I have in my box from last year? There's like 60 different of them. It's just like, and you're going to have the ones that are prominent and sought after, but there isn't a very large saturation in the hobby right now in all sorts of sports, and the different parallels and different products and different this and that it's a lot. So
Yep. All right. Right on. Let's move on. Good info, guys. This was already taken care of. This was the second question Tyler put up there, but he only got in the wheel once. Don't worry. Can Jordan Love lead the Packers in Arrowhead Stadium and stun the hometown Chiefs? We already had that play. He realized that after he put it in there, so we already know what happened there. We'll go to the next one. Shaw Racing collects. Great info, guys. A lot of great points talked about. First time here, but we'll be back. Thanks. All right, cool, man. Just a comment. Good show. So Joby One touches on something. He says, "Great show. Possible topic." DH in the National League. And I think maybe we won't really dive into that too much tonight as we're closing out almost 2 hours and about by the time we finish everything here. But we will have that. That will be a great topic, which Joby will take in as it was kind of just touched on very briefly tonight earlier too as well. That'll be something we will have on the list for another one of these shows coming up here. John Salisbury, hope to catch you live next one. So nothing there. Love the different views. Wish I could watch it all live. What's going on with Cleveland? Terry Paul asks. So I'm assuming he was asking about the Browns, and Brian, as being a Browns fan, I don't know. You have any worries about what's going on? With everything going on in Cleveland, the Browns, or no?
I think they got rid of a distraction last week, obviously. I think Baker's shoulder is an issue, and it's going to continue to be an issue. If they can get Kareem Hunt back and then get that running game going, I don't think there's a better running, backfield in the league, and they can rely on that. And if the defense, which is a lot better this year, their secondary is really beefed up and playing well, can hold their own, I don't see a problem. As long Baker can just be a game facilitator. They've got the receivers to replace Beckham. That wasn't an issue. He wasn't catching balls anyway. So I don't see a problem with the Browns. I think they're going to take a deep run into the playoffs and improve on last year. As long as they can stay healthy. I think they had a lot of injuries. A couple of weeks back, the whole team was devastated. But, they were somewhat healthy this week, and they get Kareem Hunt back. They're going to be all right. I mean, they've had running backs step in for him and do fine. Jackson was great, Yeah. And they also have a young receiver, Felton, who's really stepping up and coming into his own. I don't see a problem with the Browns. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs, man.
Awesome. All right, next we're going to go. Everybody has to answer this one. So this was from our boy Balls. Best sports movie of all time. Only pick one.
Oh.
Who wants to start? Brian, you want to start this one?
I'll go with Major League.
Major League, nice. All right.
Yeah, the OG Major League, the first one.
OG one, the first one. Always the first, original. Nate?
Hey, that's funny because literally the first movie that came out was Major League for me too. Such a good movie. So yeah, I might go Major League too.
Major League, all right. We got two for it. Wow, Brady.
I think the movie that sticks out the most with me probably is We Are Marshall. I think it's probably because it came out when I was around the age of a kid, and I watched it with my dad. It's a cool story about the program, and it's a true story about Marshall University and the plane crash back in the 70s and the team rallying around a couple of the survivors. So I think that probably just mostly because of the time period I watched it and who I watched it with, as much as it is the actual movie.
Okay, I'll do mine before Balls because it was Balls' question. So mine's going to be, I put on 35 pounds in the offseason watching you guys. The program.
Good one.
Nice.
I used to watch that before football games in middle school. I used to get all pumped up.
The program's a good choice. So I had two, and I didn't know which one to pick. I've got it though. Coming in second would have been Miracle if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a great movie. But number one for me has got to be Remember the Titans, man. Such a
great
classic.
one.
Denzel, Gary Bertier, strong side.
Yeah. Friday Night Lights is great too. What's the Giants one too? We all Giants or whatever with the kid, and he's like
Little Giants.
Oh, your Little Giants.
Oh, don't even get me started on them, man.
That's
Angels
emotional journey with that kid.
That's underrated.
That's a great movie too. All right, Let's talk about Lamar from Eric Stallings. Let's talk about Lamar. The dude is nuts. Yeah, I mean, he actually started out this past week against my Vikes. He started out a little slow. In fact, I was thinking most guys I was playing in head-to-heads and DFS and cash games had a Lamar Jackson, and I was laughing at the wheelhouse, but it was a little too early because he just continued to do what he always does: put up the stats, put up the numbers. Anything special? Anything you guys besides we already know he's a special talent? The talk used to be, or the big talk about Lamar Jackson, honestly, in the past years was this kid's a running back. You guys, the joke was for some, or they would, I don't know if it was a joke, but the saying would be people who were not Ravens fans were you got a running back as a quarterback, right? He's just a runner. He should be a running back. So, I mean, I don't know. He's turned into his own. He's showing that more ability to throw that ball, that deep ball, and even the short pass. So go ahead, anyone takes.
The one thing I will say is that all his passing has to do is be average. He doesn't have to be the best arm in the league, but I think it was his 11th 100-yard rushing game this week, which is the most for a quarterback in NFL history. It's just on a different level. It's a different thing you have to plan for, and if he can just have any sort of mediocrity in the passing game, he's going to be an effective quarterback.
Yeah. He had 21. Well, it says 21 carries. So he essentially had great running back numbers and still had 3 touchdowns, throwing 266 yards. So yeah, he's on a different level.
They got a kid out of Louisville. I'll let everybody else touch on Lamar too, but that kid is he from Louisville as well? Cunningham, is it Cunningham or Cunningham? The quarterback, the dude from, I think he's in Louisville where Lamar came out of now this year. Dude's, I think he's on Louisville. Am I crazy? Dude runs like insanely amounts. He's like he looks like a Lamar. He's like a Lamar, like a same style Lamar style quarterback. I don't know. Anyway, anyone else on Lamar? Brian, anyone got any other takes for Lamar?
I love Lamar. The one thing that surprised me about Lamar, just last night, I saw there was a Don Russ rated rookie Lamar graded a PS7 on Twitter for $20.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought it was that's ridiculous. That's got to be a typo. And I went on eBay and checked the comps, and the last one sold for $17. I don't know what's going on. Yeah. I mean, the dude won an MVP. He's on the border of winning a championship. I mean, he's fantastic. What's going on?
Everybody's in. It's I've kind of thought of it, the new market as like the slab market. The slab era, if you want to call it.
Slab, you have to be a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, the junk slab era. If it's not a 9 or a 10, people don't want it. And I think it's a good opportunity. If you want to be a collector, like if you want to collect Lamar, there's an opportunity. If you want to personally collect them, hit that kind of market. You don't have to have the best of the best. Some of my Walter Payton cards are in not good shape, but I got them. I got a lot of them too.
Yep.
So it's all about how you want to collect it. But
he's right. People, if you're looking at it on the stance of picking up, and again, I'm going to say this again, collect how you want to collect and get what you want to get and do it for you. Don't try to follow other people. Don't try to do what other people are doing and you don't really know why you're doing it. Just do what you want to do. If it's more about picking up cards, these players, and you never know, that's 7. If it's a graded card 7, it might actually, if you wanted to resend it and get graded at some point when grading was more under control and it wasn't going to take a million years to get back, you never know. It might come back. You send it a different way. It might come back in 8. People do that, 8 or a 9 anyway. But again, collect how you want to collect. Don't get so caught into, you're just doing to do.
Yeah.
I bring this up, but it's funny. When you take you take social media, right? So let's just do an example of any one of us, doesn't matter who it is, any one of us, right? Let's just say we all have the same amount of followers, whatever. We have the same number, right? And you put us up against and I'm going to maybe sound sexist here, but I got to point to this. any female, right? Like any female that's got that same amount of followers, and we post the same type of things, the exact identical like tweets, or we do whatever, who's going to get more likes? If we posted pictures, selfies of ourselves as well, and we did whatever, and we had in our account of whatever was like a same on both sides, sexist, whatever, like it wasn't flooded one way or another for one person versus the other, who's going to get more votes?
Shout out to E-Rock with his chest picture. I know what you're getting at here, kind of. Shout out to E-Rock if he's watching.
What I'm getting at is, like, it's kind of that same follow suit mentality, or that thirsty mentality, maybe somewhat. And I shouldn't be reverting to that, but how many times do you see a female get a like they just post a picture and they type something like that's not even really relevant, but they just get 1 million likes, and it's not even anybody that's famous, right? They get 300 likes. Is it just because, or is it because like there's something else here? Don't do your own thing. Be your own leader. Don't follow. Don't do silliness. And I think sometimes that's what we get stuck on, or we get caught up on, is we tend to. I say this as well when people post about certain topics. Sometimes I believe this, and this is my opinion. Sometimes I believe that people just like or drop a comment on something, and it's not really the lane they stay in or they drive in, but they do it because they want to fit in to that group or that type of person or people. They maybe don't really believe in what they're actually saying. They don't truly believe what they're saying or what they're talking about, but they're doing that because they want to fit in, right? Or they want to get in. Screw that crap, man. Do what you do. Be who you want to be. Voice what you believe in. Voice who you are, how you are. Speak who you are, and don't worry about that. Like we're not in high school. We don't need popularity tickets. We don't need extra points to fit in somewhere. I mean, everybody has their own lane. Everybody has their own place. We can all live in it. We all have a space here. Just be you and do you, boo. All right. Tom T says, I am still on a sell wagon for Mahomes. So Tom T is in the realm of still selling. He's on the wagon of getting rid of the Mahomes cards. Anybody want to touch on that, hobby-wise, Patty Mahomes-wise? Anyone? Are we getting to the end?
I mean, what do you think? Patrick Mahomes is done?
No. I just he's saying, like, on the sell-wise, he just feels like this is probably still the right time to get rid of him, because he feels like maybe, I mean, he's still going to have a solid career, but I think more people are starting to maybe see, like, is he really going to be really that same player? Is he going to go and win more championships? Is that really there? Is he going to meet up to the Tom Brady like that talk was when these Chiefs are still there? I mean, he could possibly. He's still that young, but we're seeing a whole different Patrick Mahomes this season. I mean, in front of our own eyes, we're seeing it. Where are they going to build? Are they going to get it back together to where his defense is strong enough they're not always playing from behind? He's not seeming frustrated. So Tom T is on the wagon of he's kind of selling now before he feels like it's going to continue to take somewhat of a dip. Not like a all out done, not value, but a dip to where he's trying to take advantage of it now. And again, there could be fluctuations, and this could happen in season. It happens with a lot of players. But what do you guys' take on that?
I love you, Tom T. Tom T, but you bought Brady. You had a chance to buy Brady, and you bought Drew Henson. I'm going to stick with buying Mahomes for now. That's an inside joke between us. I know he's going to watch it. He's going to laugh. Sorry, I had to get that out there.
Also taking shots.
Well, I have an argument for why somebody would sell and why somebody would buy. And the argument for why somebody would sell is the hobby right now is the shiny new toy.
Always.
And you know, you're seeing it in all the sports. You're seeing it. And if you aren't an MVP superstar breaking records by the time you're year 3, you're cast aside. So in that respect, I think you're going to see a lot of people in the hobby, the shiny new quarterbacks that are going to be coming out. And, in an argument for why you hold Pat Mahomes, let's not forget that Tom Brady had 10 seasons in between Super Bowl wins. It's a long career, and it took the second half of his career for him to be considered the greatest of all time. So Pat Mahomes can have 2 to 3 seasons of him struggling. That doesn't mean his career isn't going to be great. That doesn't mean he's not going to hold value long term. So it's kind of comes back to, are you looking for a short term type of view? Or are you looking at, I'm going to hold this for 15 years and I want to see what his career ends up as? Those are all questions you need to ask yourself when you're determining, am I buying, am I holding what I have, or am I selling?
Love it. Good take, man. I love it. Yeah.
I look at Patrick Mahomes like Brett Favre. He's just a gunslinger and he's reckless. He's very athletic, but he doesn't make the smartest plays. And when he does, instead of just giving up on the play, he tries to make something out of it. I mean, Brett Favre has no love in the community. His cards aren't worth anything. But Mahomes still has a long career, like you just said, Brady. I mean,
yeah.
I think those two are very similar, though. I really do.
I wonder, and again, none of us have this answer, but I really wonder if, I'm not saying him being a great quarterback year in and year out, but I'm wondering if those days of getting to that Super Bowl are gonna come back, are gonna be there with his career. Is he gonna possibly end up somewhere else and not be a Chief his whole career at some point? Is there something that's going to steer him somewhere else, and maybe that he gets put back in that position of possibly? I mean, these are all unknowns, right? But these are all things that happen in the NFL. We've seen crazier things happen in the NFL over time, and it just seems odd. It's went from one extreme from him to another. And I mean, we do see it. We see it with a lot of players. It's something to keep an eye on and something to be interested over.
The unfortunate thing is that his contract is just so large. Is that you got to find ways to put around those. So because the model for now it's build a team around a quarterback on a rookie deal while they're still cheap. Build around them then and try to win a championship that way. Because as soon as the quarterback gets paid, and that's normally when you got trouble finding the talent around them. So you got either draft well or try to find some cheap free agents to put around.
Right.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough with the big contract he has, but like I said, time will tell.
Right.
On that.
All right, Fester comes in and he says, will the MLB over, who is your next season World Series teams?
Ooh.
Here, I'll go first. All right. Chicago White Sox, depending upon what they do, and St. Louis Cardinals.
Two good ones.
It's fighting words.
Fighting words. I was looking right over at Brady when I said that too. But hey, I didn't say my Twins. I was actually somewhat reasonable with my picks, right? I could have said Twins. We're a couple years out from trying to be back in the playoffs. We got building to do here.
I personally think it's going to take a lot for the Cardinals. I mean, Arenado can opt out here, so their window's next year possibly. But I think I'm going to go Dodgers. I mean, if you're looking talent-wise, they're going to spend money this offseason. I know Corey Seager's a free agent, Clayton Kershaw potentially. But they're going to spend money again. They spend $250 million every single season.
Right.
And I'm going to go with the Seattle Mariners.
Ooh.
All right. There's a lot of young talent there. Evan White. Who do you got? You got Evan White. You got
I think
Haniger's still young.
I think Kalenic takes another step. I think
Klennic's
they have Julio Rodriguez, I guess, might come up and play well for them.
People panicked on Kalenic too, when they brought him down for a little bit. He just needed to figure it out.
I read a report earlier today that they are going to be major spenders in this year's free agency. So if you take that super young roster with a couple guys that can still come up and you start sprinkling in some very serious major league talent, I think they're going to be – they almost made the playoffs this year, right? They won 90-something games. So we will see.
Yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah, that
Guys,
Mariners
World
team
Series
is
takes?
really young and good. I mean, you didn't even say Kyle Lewis.
True.
I'm going to throw a curveball at you. I think in the free agency, the Los Angeles Angels are going to pick up some pitching and make a run at it.
Any takes, my man Nate? Who you taking?
I'd probably say Dodgers, and I kind of want to take a team from the AL East because there's so many good teams out. I want to say the Rays, but I'm just not sure.
They're still, as long as they can keep it together. It'll be interesting. Was Cruz just through this year? He's a free agent, right?
Yeah.
Interesting to see what they do with him. Again, though, we keep saying he's old, but man, he just keeps bashing the baseball, batting over 300, and like it's got to catch up to him at some point. But I don't know. We'll see. All right. Anyone else? What'd you say? Rays and who else?
Rays and Dodgers.
Rays and Dodgers. All right.
Different.
I want to touch on this before we get to our last. We kind of touched on the last one anyway, but we'll go over it again too. But Jovi won. Everybody wants cards, but nobody wants to pay. I'm going to say my little tidbit, and you guys can add on this, whatever you guys want to add as well. But again, guys, price your cards to sell. You don't have to get what the market's getting for every card that you own that you're trying to get rid of. Yep. If you want to move cards, price them to sell them, right? Chances are you either got them, unless you went and bought a whole bunch of cards, singles one at a time, and you just don't want to lose your tail on everything, unless it's like cards that just completely dipped anyway and you're going to lose. There's probably no gain because there's probably no coming back because a lot of these players might not ever play again or have an impact to bring a uptick. Price stuff to move it, man. I don't understand. Like, I have so many boxes of cards, and I sit there and I look, and I'm just like, I forgot I even had any of these cards. But they don't do any, like they do zero for me. Nothing. They're in boxes. Like, they're just in boxes. So again, I think we get so caught up in, we see what cards are selling for. We have to sell them for that price. Sell them for what they are. If I post them on Twitter, and I'm trying to get $20 for it or whatever, and whatever the value is, maybe it's a $30, $40, $50 card, whatever. If I post for 20 when I do on occasion, I'll let it go like 2 hours, and I'll drop it to like 15 if nobody bites. And I'll just keep dropping, I'm not going to sell it for $1. I'm going to try to save it, and I'll put it in the auction if it's whatever. Yep. But just be smarter about how you're pricing your cards. You don't have to get exactly what the market's selling cards at to sell them, because you may never sell them. The reality, and unless you don't care to hang on to them forever, then that's fine. Then I don't know why you're trying to sell it to begin with. But
I have a quick tidbit. I'm currently doing a project about so Christian Hernandez is a super young player for the Cubs, and his cards just came out in Bowman Chrome. And I'm doing a project where I'm tracking every single autograph of his that is sold on eBay throughout since the product has been out. And even his first Bowman Chrome auto has sold, has dropped by 75% since the product came out. So it's, on the other side of it, be smart with your purchases as well. You don't have to always buy it. Like Defness has talked a little bit about, don't follow everybody. A lot of times we'll see these players blow up, and yet, why their prices are going up, because everyone's like, I need to get in and buy this guy before the prices go to the moon. No, his prices are going to come back down. Like, look at like Ohtani. We're in the off season now. His prices are down a lot. Vlad popped off during the season. His prices are down. Wander's prices are down after he came up. There's times to buy and sell in the hobby, and you just got to be able to be informed and understand when those are, and don't just follow people and buy people because everybody else is doing it.
And here's the thing too, guys. Here's one big thing you gotta pay attention to, and I'm just gonna throw out there, if you haven't noticed, whenever a new product releases, right? So let's say Bowman Chrome is the product that releases. Let's just say it's releasing this week, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even on the single side of market like eBay and whatever else, you're going to be paying a premium for that singles card that week or that week and a half, 2 weeks. Give it 2.5, 3 weeks, right? Especially if they're not in season or there's no way for them to really take a huge uptick in the prices will drop. You're overpaying for these cards if you're buying them right when it's new. It's the new and shiny thing, right? The new toy, the new shiny. It's the newest card of this player. I got to get it. Just wait. There's enough of them made. You'll get it unless it's a 101 of some whatever. And then even then, most products have a million different 101s these days in each product of a player. But
well, if you follow me on Twitter, I've been posting graphs with just Christian Hernandez specifically. It is ridiculous. I mean, we're in month 2 almost, and his prices have dropped another 30-40% from where they were 1 month ago. And the product came out 2 months ago. And guess what? Bowman Draft, which is the next product that comes out for Bowman, comes out at the end of December. His prices are going to tank even more because there's a shiny new product that everybody wants to go after. Wait. Know when you should go after guys. Get guys at good prices. If you're actually into the prospecting and the whole, I want to get a couple of these cards, sit on them, grade them, do that. That's fine. If that's the part of your hobby you want to be into, just please be smart about it. And it's not just new guys. It's when Vlad blows up. It's when Ohtani blows up. It's when all these guys come up. Just wait. Be smart. Make good investments. Make good purchases, and then you won't have to be holding the bag on the other side when cards eventually come back down for those guys.
Right. I agree. Joe Mans was our last one. We pretty much touched on this. We can add whatever we want, but his questions in regards was, what is wrong with the Chiefs? Teams watching video and adjusting. The Madden curse. Is Mahomes is banged up? What gives? I mean, I think we touched on that pretty much, kind of where we are. I think we have a lot of different opinions on where they go or how they're going to be. And, I think even Brady, I go back to a couple episodes on the podcast. We were talking about the Chiefs as they were taking their down tick, and you're like, I think they're going to turn it around this year. I think it's going to happen, or it's soon. Like it's going to, but you even agreed this week, even with the win against the Packers, who were Aaron Rodgers lists and just didn't look good at all. Aaron Jones wasn't even a part of the game, which I thought would be a huge player in the game, especially with Rodgers out. But you agreed they didn't even look good then. So, I mean, do they this year? Is there even really any? I mean, if they even make the playoffs, which I don't know, if they make the playoffs, I don't see them. I see them losing, probably that first game. And maybe it's against Cleveland. I would be so happy if it was against Cleveland and Cleveland beat them for the revenge of last year.
Well, I'm just looking at
that whole head-to-head contact call or whatever the hell that was that changed the whole end of that game. I mean, it could go either way, but man, I'm telling you.
I'm just looking at their schedule quickly throughout the rest of the year. They got the Raiders twice, who's a tough football team right now.
Yep.
The Cowboys, so that obviously they still have a great offense, even though they look terrible this week. The Steelers have a good defense, and the Bengals are good. So they got a tough schedule the rest of the way. That's 5 of their 8 games that are tough. They do a couple of those are sprinkled at home, so we'll see how it goes. But that's not a team I'm really scared of right now in the playoffs at all.
Yeah, no, I got it. I agree. Anyone else? What did Huddle say? Fields getting some hard hits. Is he getting smacked around or what?
Yeah. Justin Fields getting smacked around this game.
Oh, what's the score right now?
14-6.
6, yeah.
Wow.
I will reverse that question that was earlier. Is it a good time to sell Mahomes? I'm wondering, is it a good time to almost buy Mahomes?
Well, it would be. Yeah, that is the time. So if you're going to play the side that Mahomes is going to be fine and everything's going to be good and he's going to get back to winning and the team's going to be on a up and up, or maybe next year and continue on, they're going to get things completely turned around. Yes, that would be the exact now, as people are wanting to get rid of and the dip is down, you buy at the dip, right? It's like stocks. If you're someone who's really on the buy, sell side and the invest side, or whatever term you want to use for it, the dip is when you buy, right?
Right.
Yep.
The high is when you sell. But again, there's there's those question marks, right? So it's, do you do that? Do you feel that? I mean, he's very capable. We know that. It's not like he forgot how to play football, but it's what he's going to have around him. Who's going to be around him? What kind of defense are they going to have around him? Are they going to be able to build that back to where he's not always playing from behind anymore? He's used to that being, playing with a lead in his defense, even though they've never been the greatest, they've been all right. They've been good enough. They always say, defense wins championships. The most teams out there that end up winning it usually do. Hence the Bucks beating them last year. Like they had the defense. So I don't know. Tough calls, tough takes, but you buy from the scared sellers. Yeah, that's true, Huddle. That's true, Huddle. Once prices still has to go lower for me to buy. Yeah, I mean, I'd say they're still high because of his name, right? Because of his name and what he's already done in his career.
Right.
It's yeah. I mean, he's close, but he's not a guarantee yet, right? Like if he was to get hurt right now, career ending, he's not getting into the Hall of Fame. He hasn't played long enough. He hasn't done enough. He's not a guarantee. He's not a for sure, He's not like that lock, like we bring up, like a LeBron, like someone who's playing right now, like a LeBron James in the NBA.
Yeah.
He could get hurt today and it could be career ending, and it don't matter. It's not going to affect anything. Once he gets in the Hall, he's going to go back. He's going to tick up again.
Yep.
So he's going to be there, right? So it's kind of, you want to play the safe side or the risk side, and that's the prospecting youngsters to the vets, the for sure's, the guarantees, if you will. So anyone else got anything to add tonight? We're about 2:15. We're rolling into overtime here pretty much, but
yeah, just one thing. NBA on Friday. Good matchup. Bucks. I think it's Bucks Boston and then the Bulls Warriors. Good matchup. We'll have to come back to that next week. Put that on.
Yeah, for sure. We'll talk about it on the podcast next week. So, and again, guys, we appreciate it. Well, first of all, I appreciate all you guys for being here. Brian, it was awesome having you on this time. Hopefully you'll want to come join us again. We love to have people anytime. Yeah. And again, like it's not always you'll have something to talk about for every topic, but we just got to touch on most every sport. We don't really talk about hockey because I don't think, besides balls, none of us know hockey here. Wink, wink. He said he doesn't know anything about hockey. He started throwing out stats like, I don't remember, it was a while ago. He was like some crazy stats, and we're like, what? You said you didn't know anything about hockey. But anyway, otherwise, guys, we're trying to touch on it. We touched on NASCAR. We've been getting that in the fuel. We had Nate with the Playmaker NASCAR, Kyle Larson this week. So again, all you guys who support us, continue to. Guys, remember, once this video uploads, please go leave a comment, a topic, a question for next week. Get your shot at $30 or auction credit. It's easy, it's free, and it helps us for the algorithm so we can get out there more with YouTube. So more people come join us and we can continue to grow this thing. So, and we may be doing a cross promotion with another hobby podcast. Somebody reached out to me this morning. I haven't had a chance to really talk to them because I've been busy, but we may have something that might help, like with cross promotion, where we just like throw them a line during the feed or whatever and put them in description somewhere to check out, and they do the same thing for us, vice versa. So hopefully we'll continue to get some things like that that'll help, bring people around as well. So without that, you guys got anything else for anybody tonight? That being said, man, we appreciate y'all. Thanks for hanging out with the Playmaker Podcast Live. Until next week, and there will be an auction. There should be an auction tomorrow night also. I might take the week off, but I'll let you guys know. All right. Later, guys. Peace.